Nation, welcome to the Duza Bear Digest for Tuesday, June 29th, 2021. The biggest problem with the interweb is that lies propagate, and few who see them dig deeper for the facts. Right now, the skyweb is trending with misrepresentations about Pierre Trudeau, begun by Westerners who have been itching to nail Trudeau the Elder as payback for the National Energy Program in the 1980s, with a level of spite that borders on insanity. So at the mere suggestion that Pierre tried to end the Indian Act, removing special status for indigenous people in Canada, the interwebs are calling for all references to Pierre be removed. The problem with that misinformation is it's based on a white paper from 1969. Well, I found that white paper and I read it, and surprise, Skynet once again has it all wrong. In 1963, the federal government commissioned University of British Columbia anthropologist Harry B. Hawthorne to investigate the social conditions of Aboriginal peoples across Canada. In his report, A Survey of the Contemporary Indians of Canada, Economic, Political, Educational Needs, and Policies, Hawthorne concluded that Aboriginal peoples were Canada's most disadvantaged and marginalized population. They were citizens minus. This was actually news at the time. Hawthorne attributed this situation to years of failed government policy, particularly the residential school system. Yeah, that was back in 1963, which left students unprepared for participation in the contemporary economy. Hawthorne recommended that Aboriginal peoples be considered citizens plus and be provided with the opportunities and resources to choose their own lifestyles, whether within reserved communities or elsewhere. He also advocated ending all forced assimilation programs, especially the residential schools. Again, this was 1963. Pierre Trudeau's white paper was based on it. It was done in consultation with various indigenous groups across the country, and it called for the end of the Indian Act and the dismantling of the system that's caused all the problems we're talking about now. Pierre Trudeau's government felt the Indian Act was discriminatory because it applied only to Aboriginal Canadians and not Canadians in general. The white paper stated that removing the unique legal status established by the Indian Act would enable the Indian people to be free to develop Indian cultures in an environment of legal, social, and economic equality with other Canadians. Again, that was 1969. Whether this was a better policy or a different mistake is debatable, but it was a discussion paper aimed at finding a solution to the disservice this country did to indigenous folk in a systemic manner, and it was 40 years ahead of Stephen Harper's apology and the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. It also would have ended the residential school systems entirely decades earlier, and yet, who were the most vocal opponents to this idea? Indigenous people. Yeah, this is way more complicated than anybody wants to accept. On this day in 1534, Jacques Cartier became the first European to visit Prince Edward Island. He named it Ile Saint-Jean. He was also the last one to leave without having to kiss a potato. Wait, what? On this day in 1922, France gave 1 hectare of the Vimy Ridge battlefield to Canada freely for all time and exempt from all taxes. Well, I know where I'm building my next house. On this day in 1974, Mikhail BARYSHNIKOV defected from the Soviet Union to Canada while on tour with the Ballet. But did he stay in Canada? No! He used us and then pirouetted his way to America like they all do. Blah! And that's today's Duza Bear Digest. See you tomorrow.